Hey, what's going on, everybody? This tweet right here has been pinned to my X profile since last year, September. It's gonna be coming up on a year almost. Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. But first, the price is doing exactly what we thought it was going to do, right? We were looking at this as some type of flat pattern. You could see the three-wave shape, right? All of this looked corrective to me. So I wasn't too on board with the idea that this was a wave two, right? It looks too small, and it also was the same length of the prime of the same degree of these waves, right? So it didn't make sense that was be a wave two, right? We started creeping up here, and I said this is probably going to be an ABC. We came up and hit the high. This is just a bigger B wave, A, B, C, right? So we have A, B, and now it looks like we're getting C. So what this is exactly what we said it would be, is an expanded flat. Now, it could be a running flat. It could stall right here and start continuing to rise. It could come down equal to this low and continue to rise. Or it can come all the way down to about that 618, 49.50 area, and then continue to rise. So basically what we have is a wave one. This is a wave two. And then we're going to get that wave. Hopefully we get that wave three. So that's why. I mean, if you look at the whole market, it's correcting. So, and that's what we wanted. This is exactly what we talked about. This is exactly what's happening, and this is exactly what we wanted. Why? Because we want a wave two to sort of flag out. We don't want wave one to keep going, because if it starts to break above the previous high, then it's going to look like a flat, which means what? More downside, and we don't want more downside, right? So when we look at something like this, right, obviously we've been following this chart as well, and looking at XRP, right, we have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, liquidity grab. I mean, everything checks out to it getting very, very close to potentially changing many people's lives, right? So we'll see. And not just if you hold XRP, but XLM. I mean, all the altcoins, really. So, you know, that tweet that I put out, right, which is an A, B, right? This is a C, this is a D, and now we have a three-wave E. So we have 3, 3, 3, 3, and now we have another 3, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 three-wave corrective moves. It took 5, right? This rally was so powerful and so it was the ultimate show-stopping. First of all, the best bull run in crypto history for crypto that really put crypto on the map was 2017. And the best coin that performed in the best bull market was XRP. But XRP has been long lost and forgotten. Why? Because it hasn't been performing for the last 6.5 years. It's been going sideways, which makes people what? They don't care anymore, right? It's not the new big bright shiny object, and it's, and what I mean by that is price performance. They're not looking at it. But that's when you really want to look, is when no one's looking, right? Do you think Warren Buffett invested in a stock that everybody was jumping up and down over, everybody was talking about on the Wall Street Journal? No, he was buying them when, during financial crisis, during big bear markets, right? When nobody else would buy. So if you're going sideways for 6 years, while the rest of the market went into a bull market way up here, right? And then it came back down into a bear market, and now it's going back into a retracement. XRP's down here, right? You don't really look at it as much. So, but you know, when you look at the chart, right, you can see this setup here, right, is exactly what's happening here, just on a much bigger level, right? So if we got this massive explosion out of this, right, what are we going to get next, right? People don't want to wait. They want to buy in when it's already too late. So for me, I've been accumulating for a while, and I'm, you know, we're getting very close, I believe. So we're going to jump into this. Let's take a look at the total 3 real quick. This is the 4-hour chart, and I mean, it's just like, it's perfect. Like, I don't know, do you see it? I think it's beautiful. I mean, this is exactly what we drew, right, when we were down in here. Is essentially, you know, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. And this is an A, this is a B, and this is a C. I mean, come on. This is exactly what we want. Now, is the C finished? That's the tricky part. It looks like you got a 1, 2. This could be a 3. Maybe we come up for a 4, and then we come down for 5. So A, B, C. Let's get down here somewhere, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking for, something like that, right? What else could it be? Well, it could be a little bit more complex, meaning, you know, this came down, and now we're going to come back up for 3, and then we come back down for 3. So it could be a W, X, Y, right? So something pretty big here, right? We're flagging out, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's your flagpole, and then you just start flagging out, right? You're going down, back up, down, back up, down. It gets everybody anxious. People start giving up, right? Because a lot of people, they enter where? At the top of a third or in the middle of a fifth, right? They don't enter down here, right? They don't enter on that first wave. So, you know, let's say you bought somewhere in here, and now you're basically running right into your entry point, and now you're starting to go below that, right? So people close their trades, but they end up closing their trades right as the market maybe just a little bit more down, but then it turns around, right? So, yeah. So another thing too is I want to see some type of head get formed, right? So if we have a shoulder here, let's see this head come down here. That would be nice to see. If we got something like that, right, and we start challenging this neckline here, right, especially if we get a 5-wave move like this and a 3-wave pullback, right? But do I think the correction is finished? No, I don't think it's done yet, right? I think we're getting close, but the problem is some charts look like they need a lot more. Some charts look like they're pretty much right there, right? So just really quick here, CRV, right? You can see it actually, and this is important, by the way, because CRV is actually kind of pointing upwards at the moment. But it also sort of pumped first, right? So let me put on, you can see Theta side by side, right? So this is Theta up here. So, you know, Theta continued to pump, right? But as it continued to pump, that's when CRV started its correction. So CRV is a little bit ahead of the game as far as its correction. So we look to it as something to lead us in the direction. So what did it do? Right? What did it do? It actually had an A, B, C, and it started to pump here, flag out a little bit, and now it's starting to pump back up. So is the A, B, C finished? And if so, is that a precursor for what's to come with other charts? For example, when we look at theta, right? So let me just put theta on here, and I got to get rid of this fractal. And so, for example, if we were looking at, CRV and theta as doing something similar, well, what did CRV do? Well, it kind of finished out a little bit, right? Maybe get some divergence in here, right? Something like that. And then it kind of pops up, right? And then it flags out, right? And then it starts to pump up. So CRV is kind of like right here. So if CRV started its correction first, then maybe, obviously, theta is a little bit behind, and not just theta, but all of them, right? A lot of them are, right? So, we could see something like this over the next couple weeks, basically hitting the low here, hashing out a bottom. The number one thing we don't want to do is break below this low and break below this low right here. We're really close. So we really don't want it to go any lower, right? And this is the problem a lot of times we face is, because when we look at, for example, Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin is still way up here, right? I mean, theta is down here, right? CRV's down here, right? A lot of them are down here. VeChain, right? They're already down here. So that's a little bit of an issue, because if Bitcoin still needs to A, B, C down, then it still has a lot more down to go, right? But what if that's not the case? What if that's not the case? What if it's A, B, C, right? What if this is an expanded flat? So a lot of people have it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, all of that's 3. This is 4, this is 5. So all of this is a 5-wave move. That's what people think, right? And I agree. And that could be totally the case, right? Not financial advice. So if that's the case, then this is an A, right? We're going to come up and get B, and then we're going to come down and get C, and then hopefully go. But here's the problem. What happens to theta? What happens to VeChain? What happens to, a lot of the other coins we were looking at, total 3, right? What happens if Bitcoin needs to continue down? Because if Bitcoin went down just a little bit, which caused the altcoins to come all the way down here, then what happens when Bitcoin resets and comes back down? So to me, I think the alts in this move here, right? This move here, right? They're very sensitive. So I think now that the alts are down here, I think that hopefully that sensitivity will start to die down, so that when Bitcoin gets that little correction, the alts, they get even a bigger correction. And then when Bitcoin has to go down into the C leg, that's when the alts can get that 3-wave pullback. Or so I'm speculating. That's just me speculating. Most people, they wouldn't even dare to speculate because they're the fear of being wrong, right? But for me, it's not about being right or wrong. It's about narrowing down what it most likely is. And the only way you can really do that is have a discussion and sort of talk it through of what is what and how things are setting up to be, right? This is just all speculation, right? So from me analyzing this wave structure, so we'll go back to Bitcoin. Let me go to theta again here, And actually, I can put them up side by side. So let me go to percent. There we go. So they're both sort of at the same levels here. So you can see, you know, they're pretty much matched up in here. But then when, you know, the when Bitcoin pulled back, right, it was very shallow, and when it retraced, it was actually deep, right? But for Theta, it was actually a deep correction and more of a shallow pullback, right? Which extended this C leg, extended this down, right? So we're down here, Theta's down here, Bitcoin's down here. So we got some divergence going on, right? So that's a little bit too much. So if for example, if Theta's ABC is ABC, right? And when I put Bitcoin back on, why would Bitcoin's ABC be here and Theta's be here? It kind of doesn't really make sense, right? So we'll see. We'll see how that all... I'm just throwing that out there just so that we understand. Also, when we look at the retracement, I mean, Theta is right in the zone where we need it to stop, right? We're right here at the 702, 786, right? We already broke through the 618, so we had more than a significant enough pullback. So, I mean, this is an area where this is a good... I'm coming out and saying this is a good area for dollar cost averaging. So, I mean, why am I saying that? Because I need everything to check out, right, for me to say that. Well, I'll explain exactly why this is a good spot for myself to go dollar cost average, right? First of all, you know, we have obviously we broke out of our Wyckoff range, right? We had 1, 2. This is another 1, 2. We're right down here, back testing the top of the breakout, right? That's reason number 2, right? And reason number 1, right? We have a 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And then also, when we look at the correction we've been in, right? Let me go to the daily chart here. We can see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Or better yet, it's 3, 3, 5. So ABC, right? So we have a completed ABC, right? And how do we know it's completed? Because when we look at the C leg, do we have 5 waves? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes. So we have a completed C leg that back tested the top of this major support area, right, that we needed to confirm, right? Because we were under here for a long time, for over a year or so. So when you break out, you want to come back down and confirm that by back testing it, which we did that, right? So there's a lot of reasons why I'm dollar cost averaging. And another reason is because when we look a little bit closer, right, you can see we had obviously divergence between the 4th and the 5th, but then more importantly, we also had a 5-wave move coming up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. So what did I say? Let the 5 waves go, right? Which is exactly what we see. The 5 waves happen. I said, don't chase it, just let it go. But what we're going to do is we're going to wait. We're going to wait and let the pullback occur. And what we want is a 3-wave correction. So we got 5 up and we got 3 down. Now, could it keep going down and break the low and go down and crash and burn and go to 0? Yes. Anything's possible. But that's why we rely on it's just like a fighter pilot. faced with, a really tough situation, he has nothing else to do but rely on his training, right? You got to rely on your training at the end of the day. So I'm relying on what I'm looking at here, and what I'm looking at is a 5-wave move with a 3-wave pullback, and it's like almost too perfect. It's like too pretty, right? So is there going to be some shenanigans, right? Maybe we come up here and then we hit the low before we go. Obviously, yes, right? You could have some kind of thing, but that's why we dollar cost average, right? Because if something were to happen like that, right? If you draw a channel, what do? You buy the bottom of the channel, right? So, for example, if this was 5, we could dollar cost average a little bit there. We come down, this is 5, we dollar cost average a little bit there. Let this wave pull out. If it comes up into an impulse, great, let it go. But if it comes up in a 3-wave move, maybe just be a little bit patient. We start getting rejected here by the downward resistance line, and let's say we come down another 5, right? Fine, well, dollar cost average right here. So, we're relatively close to our stop loss right here. And this is just trading, right? This is not even hodling. Most people don't even care about what I'm saying. Most people care about, the ultimate long-term cycle, right? The big ultimate trade, right? Buying, holding, stacking, hodling, and waiting for the big number to eventually show up. But and that's even better, right? And that's even more of a reason to, in my opinion, dollar cost average in these areas, because it could be, right, WX, Y, X, Z, right? You can always get an XZ, right? WX, Y, X, Z, instead of just a WXY. So that brings me back to what Bitcoin is going to do, right? So if Bitcoin is barely starting its A wave and it needs to come up into a B wave, then that might mean that theta goes up into WXY, another X wave, right? And then it comes down for a C. So A, B, C for Bitcoin, then it goes up. So during this leg that's when we get this leg. So that could happen. And basically, you would have this flagpole, and then you're just flagging out before the breakout. So as long as we're overlapping each other, it looks corrective, which means it's bullishly correcting, right? Because this is the big moment here, right? Because if this is a wave 1, if this is a big wave 1, then what happens with wave 3? So what we're doing is we're basically, why this is so important is because we're basically comparing right here to right here. That's how powerful that is. And look at the magnitude of this. Huge, right? From this little circle. Look at this circle. It's way bigger. It's way bigger, right? So that means this could be even bigger than we think it could, So, it all starts with a finished correction, right? In this case, by the way, this is exactly what XRP is doing right now. I just realized that. This is exactly what XRP is doing right now. Crazy. So let me just show you very fast here with XRP, and I'm going to wrap up Theta in a minute. But essentially, in the beginning of the video, right? So yesterday, the day before, what were we saying? This looks corrective, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if this comes up, takes the top, right? Has that flat look, and then comes down. It could come equal to this. It could come equal to this, or it can come down here, right? You just don't really know. Right? It could be a running flat. It could be a regular flat. It could be an expanded flat. We just have to wait and see, right? But how do you if I want to buy, where do I buy? Well, if I had, $100, I would probably put maybe 10, 15%. Then we get down here, maybe 20, 30%. And then you get down here, maybe 40, 50%, right? So that's kind of how you want to do it. So it's not about nailing the exact bottom. It's just understanding. And then also we would count the waves in here. Obviously, we're on the 8-hour chart. So if I zoom in here, it looks like you got a 1, 2. Yeah, it actually looks like a 5-wave move to me. And I'm glad this didn't break the top. I'm glad that didn't break the top. So 1, 2, right? You got 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I mean, it could be done now. It could be done. And you know what? Even if it's not done, I would expect a bounce here because look, we're right here on support. And we kind of slice right through it. I mean, you can see we're bouncing support, 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 support. And you break out and you come all the way back down. Now you're underneath some of this support. So I would imagine at least a little bit of a pullback here, right? Because it could be like how this was 5, this is 3. This can come back and be another sort of a WXY, if you will, right? So it could be the first wave of this correction, right? So I just wanted to point that out. I mean, so just take a mental screenshot of that, and I'm actually going to screenshot it myself right there. And then let's go back to Theta. And let's go to the 6-hour chart and now look at this. You can see it right here, right? So to me, XRP is kind of like we had 1, 2, maybe like right in here somewhere, right? So you still need a little bit more downside. So I'm going to screenshot this. By the way, before I show that screenshot side by side, this was basically our main Bitcoin idea here. And you can see, right, fast forward today, this came up into a B wave, and now we're starting to shoot down here. Because it just didn't seem right, right? If this was a wave 2, it was too small. So it kind of needed to be like this, kind of like a flat here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, then go. So let's get down here. Right, and we're almost there, so we'll see. We kind of, we'll jump back into that. But look at this, right here. I got them side by side. By the way, I forgot to say, one of the most biggest bears, XRP bears, right, just came out. I just talked to him, and he actually flipped bullish. Keep in mind, this guy doesn't HODL XRP. I don't think. He's a very, very good trader. Very high intellect. Very intelligent. Smart. He's good, right? He's a solid trader. And he always looked at it bearishly, right? And I kept giving him, look at this. Yeah, but look at this. And he just kind of, he was very disciplined in following the rules of his trading strategy, and it just wasn't clicking. But I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, he's very, very bullish, right? Especially with the last couple of weeks, and that wave we've seen up, right? Basically taking out previous local highs and things like that. So obviously, we need a pullback, and we're in that pullback now. The market is red today, right? So yeah, we're in that pullback now, right? So when we look at Theta, right? By the way, if you were watching my channel back in November, December, January, February, that's what we had to deal with. And I think, probably the only one saying, the way this came up, notice how we're shooting straight up, right? And then we kind of chop, 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 and then we're chopping, chopping, chopping up. chopping down, chopping up. And that whole chopping, very corrective price action makes a three-wave shape, and that's exactly what we identified. So when we were up here, there's a lot of people bullish. Look, we're still going up. They're not looking at the wave structure. They're not looking at, they're looking at the price, and the price was pretty decent, right? It was high. It was at the time about $1.40, right? And back over here we were at less than $1. So from here, less than $1 going all the way up past $1.40, that's what people care about, right? But that whole thing created the shape that we don't really want. I mean, we do want it because we want a correction, right? But what it was an A, B, C. It was a running flat. And then we had a 5-wave impulse, a 3-way pullback, and then we went crazy, right? So if you compare that to what XRP is doing now, right, you can kind of see that 3-wave shape, right? And then you have, this move back down, and now we're getting this move probably back down, somewhere back down here, right? And then we want to see a 5-way move up, an ABC, and then we want to see it continue higher. Now, can it go even lower than that? Yeah, depending how expanding it wants to be, right? But right now, right, that's actually a good thing, because coming back up here, now we're correcting from a higher point, and we already completed the A, the B, right? So now we're creating the C leg, but we're creating the C leg from way up at the top, breaking the top, which means as you go down, you have less, you run out of momentum faster, right? So versus having A, B, C, right? You're starting it from here versus A, B, C. Now you're starting it from up here, right? So the length of the wave is the same, but when you start from a higher point, you have, a good price, right? Not so much of a bearish price at the end of the day. You can see the market is down pretty bad. 2%, 4%, 5%. Look at CRV is up 7%. Remember, CRV corrected sooner than the rest of the market, right? Which is a leading indicator letting us know that eventually we're going to see, a pretty nice rally. And again, today's Thursday, right? Usually Thursdays, I always talk about Thursdays. They're always the most volatile days of the week. Usually, right? It could be Wednesday or Thursday, but it's usually that. And then Friday, you kind of cool down a little bit. Saturday, Sunday. And then, you get the weekly close, right? And then a whole new week starts, right? So let's be thankful that the correction is happening now, right? We want it to happen. So yeah, let me go back to Theta real quick. And looking at this, right? And as we just compared this to XRP. Everything's looking pretty good here. So it's just funny. Like, this is exactly what we talked about, right? I mean, I'm not going to go back and show video clips, but I'm sure you can take my word for it, because also we have a inverse head and shoulders here, right? So I want to see this kind of come back up, get back to this neckline here, right? So what's the game plan moving forward, right? What's the overall game plan? Well, the overall game plan is to get back to here, right? And that's going to take some time. It could take a week or so, maybe longer, right? But we need to get back up here. This looks like a beautiful ABC. And now let's measure that. I forgot to measure it. So if I take a trend-based fib extension and I put it right here, I come all the way down to here, and I come all the way up. Look at that. We're almost at the 1-to-1. So could people be front running it? Yeah, right. But we basically, you know, it's $1.23, and the low was $1.24. So I'm gonna say, yeah, it's probably likely that maybe another low, but some right in here is the area we want to buy, right? We wanna be buying the one-to-one extensions, especially from a three-way pullback, right? Now, so the game plan going forward here is to start hashing out a bottom, going sideways, right? Getting a five-way move, a three-way pullback, and eventually getting our butt back up here, right? Getting through these retracement levels, right? Maybe playing around a little bit, but ultimately we want to create this shoulder here, right? A pretty big shoulder, by the way. So it's a head. Let's create this shoulder. Let's round back up. Now, what if it's not finished? What if it's not finished? Well, we really don't have much wiggle room here. I mean, we're really close to the low. So we really don't want, I mean, we could go a little bit lower, you know, maybe even a little bit lower than that. But if we're going straight down, that's not so good. But if we're kind of going in a slant like this, that's probably creating the bullish divergence. So let me zoom in to, say, the 30-minute here. Take that off the screen. And you can see we sort of bottomed out a little bit here. And look at the bull. Wow, I didn't even realize. I didn't even realize that, by the way, is that three-way pullback right here. So, or I'm sorry, the divergence. You can see the bullish divergence from here down to here, right? You can see that it's not so strong. It's not super strong, but that was a big price dump from $1.38 down here to $1.24, right? So we're getting bullish divergence. Yeah, it's looking good here. And let me see, is that on the fifth wave? Okay. Yes, that's between the third and the fifth, right? So looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have divergence between the third and the fifth here. So this could be the bottom. This could be the bottom right now. So we'll see. Yeah. So if it is the bottom, then what are we going to look for? What are we going to look for? We're going to look for 5, right? We want to see 5 waves. Do we have 5? No. Maybe we do, actually. Maybe this is some kind of diagonal here on the 5-minute. I don't like doing small time frames, but in this case, why not? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I want to see this get higher, I want to see this get up to here, right? If we get there, guys, this could be a good trading. You know, if this looks like a diagonal to me, potentially, right? We have a 5-wave shape. What do we want to see? We want to see an ABC pullback. And then where would I buy? I would buy right here. If we get this, if we push up a little bit more and get a 3-wave shape, this is where I would buy, right here. About $1.27. $1.26, right? We cannot break that low. If we break that low, then it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So we have to have that shape to it, right? So when I zoom out, what do we have, right? This could be, you know, continuing to pump up here, right? So it'll be a 1, 2, 3, and then we get back to here, right? Maybe creating a shoulder. So, you know, it doesn't have to impulse straight away. This could be, you know, another thing too is it could make some type of Wyckoff pattern, right? Where you're kind of coming up, kind of come back down, do something like this, right? and then break out, right? We can do something like that too. There's going to be shenanigans in here. And that's what screws up traders, right? Because they look at it from a linear perspective, like, oh, we have to get 5, we have to get 3. And if it's not this and that, then it's wrong. Well, not all the time, right? You can get some in basic, some oscillation, and basically all that is what? You're building a base, right? And you might get a liquidity grab down here, right? To kill all the stops, because they're looking at this and saying, oh yeah, it's a diagonal, it's a 5-way move, they're waiting for a 3-way pullback, and then we're going to go up and make people believe, okay, we're in the third, but then we're going to come down and dump it and take out the stop, right? So that's why you got to be careful, right? So, and that's what makes it hard, right? So anybody says trading is easy, it's not easy. It's hard. But that's why most people don't do it. That's why most people just buy, hold, and wait. And those people are going to win tenfold more than any trader would. I like to do both because that's how I make my living. I want today money, right? I can't afford to wait 6 months, a year, right? Even though it's going to be totally worth it. But, I don't want them to tow my car away, You got to pay your bills. So that's it for Theta. I think this is probably one of the best videos I've done, probably within the last week or two, I would think, because there's a lot of juicy stuff happening. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just kind of hurry up and skim through a couple charts and see if we're getting the similar vibes, right? And with ADA, I'm getting the similar vibes. We have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have an A, B, C. Perfect. And then we have a 5-wave impulse. Do we have a 3-way pullback? Yes. We have a 3-way pullback. Let's see here. Yeah. We have boom, boom, boom. Right? So we have a 3-wave shape. Now you could say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or W, X, Y, X, Z, in which case it would be even more likely done, right? But what have we been talking about for a long time, especially the beginning of July, right around mid-July, up in here. Basically, we want to flag out, right? And that's what we're doing. We're flagging out. We got an impulse, straight shot up, overlapping down. So we want this thing to break out, and it could be done, right? Maybe a little bit more down. We don't want to get too close to here, right? So I'm not saying the bottom is in, but I am saying it's getting very close, I would imagine, right? I would imagine. Now, if this doesn't play out, and let's say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we get a 3-way pullback, and if this is a diagonal, then we could be going down, right? So that's why we just want 3. This has got a little bit of a 5 to it. So, but it lines up with the rest of the market. So, I'm definitely dollar cost averaging, because we also came back to the breakout area. This is where the price broke out, and it's also where the support is from these local areas over here. So you just drag that across, and that's exactly where we landed, right? And if you look here, we have 1, 2, right? Maybe 3, 4, 5. Or if this is 1, 2, all of this is 3. And that's kind of the tricky part. Come back up, and then we get 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So then this would be a 3, and a 5. So A, B, C. And then go up. Okay. Ethereum. Wow. Look at Ethereum. It's, again, has the 5. It has that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A. Look at that. We had a 3-way B. Exactly what we talked about. And now we're coming down for C. right? So it doesn't look finished yet. It didn't even break below the B wave here. Maybe we come up and take the low out a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's get down here, then go up, right? And maybe we get some kind of falling wedge or flag or what have you. So just, you know, in XRP again, you know, when I zoom out, let's go back to the screenshot, which is this one here, right? It's been pinned to my profile for a while. Basically saying, you know, if this is complete, right, this Elliott wave triangle, then this would be what? A wave 4, right? Because wave 4s usually are where triangles are. So you have a 1, 2, right? All of this is 3. And then we have A, B, C, D, E for wave 4. Huge wave 4. But look at wave 2. Wave 2 was also huge, right? And you can see wave 2 and wave 4 are in the same degree, even though it's a much larger. That's called rules of alternation, right? Sometimes the 2 is bigger than the 4. Sometimes the 4 is bigger than the 2. Yeah, as soon as you get that liquidity grab, blast off. So when we zoom in on this E wave, right, it looks really good. So A, B, C. So we have that finished 3 waves. So I mean, and now what do we have? We have an impulse off the bottom of that final E wave that we've been waiting for 6.5 years. That's why this wave is so significant. Most people think, oh yeah, it's just pumping up. Who cares? It's just a little pump. It's going to be dump. It's, you know, but you know, what's the difference between this wave and this wave and this wave and this wave and this wave, right? And this wave and this wave and this, you know, so most people can't see that, right? But that wave, the reason why this particular wave is so important is because it's coming from the end of the E wave, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to explain there. Looks like we're still dumping here. Let me go to the 5-minute. You can see we were getting some bullish divergence here, right? And then it came and took the divergence out. Now it's starting to roll back down. So let's see here. Where could we expect this to go? Well, if I take this from here and let's go up to here, I mean, we are actually you know, we're almost hitting that 1-to-1. So the 1-to-1 is right at 56 cents here. So I would imagine, you know, you could see we whip down there, but sometimes you'll have candles to fill in the gap, and we're gonna start rounding out in here. You know, that's what I would like to see. I want to see support get held right here, 56, 57 cents, and I believe that's what we talked about. All right. Now, if we start breaking below that, it's okay. It's just going to be 1, 2, 3. This is a 4. And then we come down and get 5. Somewhere between these two numbers, between 52 and 50 cents. So A, B, and then C, and then go. Or somewhere here. So we're just going to have to pay attention in here. It's kind of tricky, right? So when you look at XRP versus Bitcoin, I mean, that's a little bit challenging there because there's a lot of different options there. So I won't even try to get into that. But, you know, when you look at XRP, what we want here is to just hold, really, this zone here, right? And let me actually have that right here. Yeah, so about that 50-cent level. We want to hold above that 50-cent level. I think it's very important we do so. So that's about it for XRP. Let's just keep quickly going through, like, for example, VeChain. So VeChain, right, has that similar situation going on with Theta, right, and like ADA, which is, it's not as clean though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then A, B, C. And now you have a wave 1 with a 2, 3 wave pullback, and let's go. Right? That's the idea. Right? So when we zoom in, does that idea make sense? So here's our impulse. Actually, let me go to the 4-hour here. Yeah, so 1, 2. This could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3. This is 4. Then we still need to sweep the lows for 5. That's kind of always the trick, right? So for VeChain, we got 1, 2, and I just don't like 3, 4, and 5. It's okay. And we have A, B, and C. I mean, yeah, we have that 3-wave shape. And where are we on the retracement level? I mean, we basically we're knocking on the door at the 618. So this could be a good little area for dollar cost averaging on the 618. Now, that doesn't mean the low is completely in, right? So let's look at Filecoin. So Filecoin, same thing, right? You got the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm not sure if I would have the 5 here. Let me see. Yeah, so I would say W, X, and Y. So 3, 3, and then maybe 3 or 5. So basically we want that 3-wave shape somewhere down here. It's probably not finished yet. If I put this here, or actually, I'm going to put this trend base here. Yeah, so we hit the 1-to-1. You can see we hit it. So what it's probably doing is it's probably filling in some of the gap here. That's a pretty big wick, right? So when you wick back up like that, a lot of times you come back and fill it 50% or even a little bit more, but then you start to go slanting and then you start to curl and round out a little bit. That's what we want to see, and that's what I'm thinking here. So, you know, is it done? Again, this could be 1, 2, 3. We could come up for 4 and then still get 5, right? We could still get a little bit lower here, but I think we're getting close. So USDT dominance, we want USDT dominance to continue going down, and it looks like, you know, we have this 1, or actually 1, 2, 1, 2, right? 1, 2, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, and now look what we have. We have a 3-wave pullback, right? So when we look closely on the 2-day chart, you can see we got a 3-wave pullback, and I'll actually even zoom in on that a little bit more. And you can see 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, right? So boom. So now what? So now we just had our first impulse to the downside. Boom. And now what are we doing? We're getting another three-way pullback, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then A, B, C. And maybe the C gets a little bit higher. Maybe it gets a lot higher, right? Maybe it gets up here. But the point is, this is a three-wave shape. Now, what we don't want, if this turns into like a 4 and a 5, then it's gonna, we don't want that, right? We just want it to stall out here, and we want it to start going down into that third wave, right? So when we zoom out, what we have here is, let me zoom out a little bit more, is the beginning of the fifth wave, right? So we have 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4. And this little wave we just talked about, that's the first wave of the fifth wave. And now we're in the second wave of the fifth. 1, 2. And soon we're going to be in the third of the fifth, which is the biggest wave to the downside. And this is good. We want it to go down. We want this chart to go down. This is USDT dominance. We want the dominance to go down, right? Because we don't, we don't want people in Tether. We want people in crypto, right? So this goes down, and now we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then maybe we get a three-way pullback, and then hopefully continuation. So I haven't looked at T drop. I know people like it. Basically, it's very challenging to read. But if I just take the wicks off, there we go. Now it cleans it up a lot. So it removes all the noise. And what I'm looking here is, obviously we have this impulse to the upside. And to me, it looks like we have, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 5. So we have a 3, 3, 5. So that's an ABC. And it looks like this is a 1, 2. Right? So if that's a 1, 2, then we should get 3 and 4 and 5. Or this is going to be some kind of Wyckoff range. Something like that. Right? But I think, this is your base down here, and you're building a base on top of this. That's what we want to see. So far it's looking good. We got, this is the daily. Let's look at the 8-hour. It's not the prettiest chart. I don't like the candles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. Yeah, so it looks decent. Solana is dumping, which is good. So Solana could be like 3, 3, and now we need 5. So that's the big problem I see is with Solana, is it just doesn't look like, unless this was a flat A, B, C, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2. We still need another hit to the high, and then we get a three-way pullback, then continue higher. Render. Yeah, I don't know why I would buy it. Render. I mean, it just went up so much. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a 5-wave move. You're at the top. I don't like that. I don't know why people would. I mean, of course, it could keep going higher and higher and higher and higher and just make everybody millionaires, but I don't know. I want to buy things cheap, not expensive. But for those who like it, it's bullish. Why? Because you have a B, C. You have a three-way pullback here. You have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like we're at the end of the correction. So I want to see this turn around. Right? Obviously, this is the daily, so we might have a little bit more down to go. Right? But the big signal will be Bitcoin. So this is the others chart, everything out of the top 10 in crypto, and you can see we have an impulse, a three-way pullback. Let's hold the line and let's continue going higher. It might take a couple weeks just to know. So, all right, guys, that'll do it. Please hit that like button. I'll really appreciate it. Drop a comment, and I will catch you guys on the next one. Cheers.